Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello and welcome to Inkdependence.com. Here we have a Game of Thrones pin from Montegrappa. They got licensing to do a series of pins based on Game of Thrones. You can find these in many modes. We're of course going to be looking at the fountain pin, the best pin. And so you may have seen these on a couple of other channels. I know my buddy Figboot has done the Targaryen pin. This is not the Targaryen pin. If you look closely at the cap of the box, you'll see all kinds of different house sigils on here. We've got the Targaryens, the Starks, Baratheon, and Lannister. There's the lion right there. But you also see there are a few others. We've also got the Kraken. We've got the Burning Heart Stag. There got a few others. So maybe there will be some more in the series, but I don't know for sure. And I actually don't know which one this is. That's interesting. Anyway, to the pin. It comes in this very nice box, which if you're one that looks at boxes, and I do, you'll see that these match up across the front and across the back, which is quite nice that those are done that way. The sides, well, a little bit mismatched, unfortunately. But matching across the sides would be a big pain in the butt, so I kind of get it. But from the front and side, this is a very nice looking box, very classy. Inside the box, we're going to have my second favorite house, I guess. I didn't get the Starks. The Stark pin apparently went missing, dun dun dun, in a very heisty sort of way, apparently. So I ended up with the Baratheon pin, which is this one. Before we look at the pin, let's finish up with this box and we can put it aside. Inside you have a nice sort of velvety liner. It says Montegrappa on the top. A pin pillow here with the crazy long instruction manuals. But just sort of a short instruction manual done in a bunch of different languages, that is. Anyway, there you go. Tons of languages. Put that back in the box. You go back on top. There we go. All right. Inside the box is this pen, which is a new model of Montegrappa pen. You can see the clips are all done with the house sigil. In this case, we have Baratheon Stag with the antlers going up here. Very nicely done. I like this one a bit better than I like some of the other ones. Some of them are a bit too triangular for me. They sort of come to a point. The dragon of Targaryen and the wolf of House Stark both come to a point. I think this one is a little bit nicer, and the lion is also a little bit nicer because they're a bit longer, a bit more balanced to my eye. But of course, that's in the eye of the beholder a little bit. Around the sides of the pin body, you'll find this nice patterning. Looks pretty classy. And if you turn around to the other side, not a very loud pen. It has the Montegrappa logo here in script. There we go, Montegrappa. Around the other side, we have the Game of Thrones logo, TM. TM is actually almost as big as the rest of the letters. They could have made that a little smaller, I guess. It's bigger, actually, than the of. Anyway, nitpicking things. And then on the top of the cap, the finial here, has the stag, and also the words of House Baratheon. Ours is the Fury, which is some pretty solid words, really. Yeah, very cool. I really like the finial. This is one of my favorite parts of this pen, actually. I look at it and go, you know what? Mine is the Fury. If I'm grading papers or something, Fury. Anyway, so that's very cool. I dig these old medallion finials. I think that's rad. The clips are okay, but I think the medallion finial is really where it's at. And also this belly band is very nice. It's very nicely done. It's got like this sort of chased pattern. It's good. It's good. Well, brushed. Brushed is the word I was looking for. And then on the bottom, not much to see here, just sort of a bottom of a pen, but also in matching disc form. Anyway, if I had to make one nitpick about the look of it, it's that the clip and this line on the body don't quite line up. Like they're just a little bit off. And I wish if they had been just a fraction of a turn, I think it would have been a little bit better, but just slightly off. Anyway, uncapping the pin is easy. It's about, I don't know, 3/4 of a turn, I suppose. because it's got big, flat Acme threads. These are the best kind of threads, I think, to have on a fountain pen. Every time I see a pen that doesn't have these, I go, I wish it had big, flat threads. Because you can have fewer of them, you can unscrew the cap more easily, and they don't cut into your fingers if you happen to be somebody who holds very high. Some people do hold quite high, other people hold quite low. But up here, these threads don't hurt you. There are other brands that do this. Franklin Christoph is the one that comes to mind most, of course. But they do these like big flat threads as well. And I think it's a great feature. Anyway, the grip section here is sort of, again, that brushed gold plate. I've been using this quite a bit, and it hasn't tarnished at all, which is nice. I wouldn't expect it would anyway with gold, but it actually doesn't seem to pick up much in the way of fingerprints. A little bit. Let's see if I can get a fingerprint on camera here. Just a little. But I think the brushed pattern actually helps, because you can kind of go like that and it's gone, which is nice, as opposed to some of the shinier finishes. The nib here is quite a nice looking nib. It's one that doesn't show up on their other pens. You have a sword in the middle, and then sort of a pattern on the edge, and I can't tell what exactly that pattern is, actually. It might not be anything. It looks a little bit like the stylized dragon from the Targaryen. It also looks a little bit like the antlers of the stag here for House Baratheon. But I think this is the same pattern on every pen. Pretty sure, anyway. And it's a nice pattern. It's not overly busy because the nib is all this sort of brushed gold plate. It is a stainless steel nib, however. It is not a gold nib, which is a bit of a knock against it. A pen at this price range probably ought to have had a gold nib, but I imagine that as much as they have to pay for licensing on this, I would bet they probably had to go with a stainless steel nib. Now, it is a very nice stainless steel nib. We'll have a little writing sample here in a bit, but it is a stainless steel nib, and that puts people off a little bit. As I said, perfect flow, also really solid writing experience, I think, from this. We'll see that in the writing sample. Inside here, fairly standard threading action here, metal on metal threads, so not a, I don't know why you would eyedropper a pen like this anyway, but not an eyedropper-y pen. You can see the metal in here at the end, perhaps. I can't get the light inside it. That's a common problem. But you can see the metal capping down here where it's all put together. This is a very nice barrel. A little bit of weight to it, but not too much. This is not a particularly heavy pen, although it does have enough weight to make it feel like it's a quality item. This converter is quite nice. It is a screw-in converter. It's got a little bit of play here in the piston, but not much. It doesn't seem to move here at all. This is a screw-in converter, as I was saying. Let's unscrew it very carefully so I don't get ink everywhere. Over my hand just in case something happens. Good, there we go. Very nice converter, high-quality converter, actually. One of the better converters I've seen in terms of build quality, I think. It says Montegrappa around the band there. Let's go ahead and screw that back in. Easy enough to screw these guys in. Just remember not to just sort of try to yank it out, but it also is not going to fall out and rattle around inside the barrel of your pen. I had that happen a couple of times with other pens, and it means that there's like just ink all inside the barrel, and that's always a mess. So you don't want that. And the screw-in converter is a nice touch of class on this pen. The ink I have in here is actually Sailor Choo-Choo, which is sort of a purpley gray. I think it matches the barrel of this pen very nicely. It looks good coming out of the nib. All right, so let's set up camera stuff a little bit differently and do a writing sample. Okay, so let's do a little writing sample here for the Montegrappa Game of Thrones pen. So this is the Montegrappa Game of Thrones. And I've had no problems with this pen starting up or getting going. It's always got, ink flow ready to go. And actually, this is a fairly good test because I did just have this out uncapped for quite a while, taking pictures for the written version of this blog, which you'll find at inkdependence.com. And it's still got no problem starting right up. And granted, this is a very good ink. This is Sailor Choo-Choo. Which is a sort of really dark, like purpley gray. It looks just gray, or actually kind of charcoal black, actually, out of this pen. There you go. Flow on this pen is pretty medium as far as that goes. The point is supposed to be a medium, says medium right here. And well, I don't know, can I get it to focus? There we go. You can see the medium there, and it is a pretty true Western medium. None of this, nothing wonky going on with the nib size there. Just a regular old medium. One thing about this pen that I did notice, as far as something to, I don't know, maybe be a little bit of a gripe, I suppose, although it's not a big deal, is that while filling this pen, you don't want to, submerge it in the inkwell up to about here. But if it goes up here, ink gets in these little grooves in this sort of brushed metal here on the grip section, which is very comfortable. A lot of people don't like metal grip sections because they can be slippery. Well, this one's got just enough of a texture to it. It's a barely perceptible texture, but it does keep it from getting slippery at all. I wrote several pages in a row with this thing with no problem at all, no slipperiness at all. So don't worry about that. If you're worried about the metal section, don't worry about it on this one. It's quite nice. Okay, so there you go. Get some little cross hatches. You can see the ink shining nicely in the light there. Some people like to do a little bit of this action and then smear it. I don't usually do that, but there you go. That seems, I'm bowing to convention there. To show you some like wetness, I suppose. Although really that just depends on the paper. This is a really nice Moraman Septicolor pad, and this is a fairly thick paper that doesn't, it's not super absorbent or anything like that. So this test doesn't really mean a whole lot to me, but some people dig it. So there you go. So what happens when you do it? Of course, it's already dried. See, great ink. And also a really good pen to match this in. When this pen was sent out, actually, Carrie sent me some, can I reach it? There we go. Some Montegrappa ink. This is Montegrappa's red, which is going to be good for some grading I have upcoming. But I had it in this pen to begin with, and I didn't care for it. And I don't know if it was the ink's fault, but it just wasn't a good color combo. So you got this sort of black and gold pen, which is kind of fancy looking. Although I got to say, for a Montegrappa, this is remarkably restrained. They are known for going a little out there. Check out the Chaos pen or that Pirate Treasure pen if you want to see some real out there designs. This is, by comparison, quite restrained for them. Anyway, this is a really like sort of fluorescent pinky orangey. I'm going to go with a pinky red, actually, is what it reminds me of. It looks a little orange in the cap, but definitely here is a very pinkish sort of red. But it wasn't a good color combination for this pen. It didn't work for me. I don't generally match pens and inks, but this one I felt like it needed a little something more somber, so I give it a little something somber. All right, let's look at it in comparison to a few other pens, and then get out of here. All right, let's see. I have a tray of pens here, which represents, or is a representative sample of lots of different varieties of pens. Some that are pretty common, some that are a little more expensive, some that are a bit less. But all of them in the kind of like size range of this Montegrappa. So everybody knows the Lamy All-Star, All-Star Always. This one, I haven't even taken the sticker off of this guy, but it's just about exactly the same size as the Lamy All-Star when it's capped. Same thing with the TWSBI Eco. It's a little bit smaller, just slightly shorter than the Pelican 805, which is just barely like a finial above it. The Platinum 3776 is just about the same as well, just a hair longer. This is a Namasu Studio, which is the Ebonite version of their Namasu Nova. Very cool pen that's on loan. We'll look for a review of this very soon because I have to give it back. And also very, very close to the size of a Vanishing Point. Uncapped. I get so much ink on my fingers. It's slightly taller. Actually, I'm gonna move the Vanishing Point over here because it doesn't really count. It doesn't really uncap for any intents end purposes. Here we go. The uncapped, you get a wildly different set of lengths. Let me get this last guy here. There. See, wildly different now. It's probably closest to, still very close to the Lamy, very close to this Namasu. I don't know how to say it. And then shorter than these other two. And of course shorter than this guy, which doesn't really uncap at all. It doesn't really change much in terms of length, so he's out. There you go. Posted, this pen does post, and you can write with it posted, although the cap is fairly heavy, and it does tend to weigh it down just a skosh. So I didn't really write with this posted very much. Come here, Caps. Where do you think you're going? I'm on to you. Whoa. There we go. It also becomes quite long when posted. And lastly, there. Yeah. So posted links, I don't know, about the same as the Eco, a little bit shorter actually than the Lamy, but still reasonable to use when posted. All the little dots. Still reasonable to use when posted. It depends on the size of your hand. It does become quite long, but it does post very securely. It's a nice post on it. It's got this nice plastic interior here, so you're not going to mar up the end of your pen by posting it, so you don't have to worry about that. No damage is being done. But it does become a little bit long. However, most of the weight ends up being right about here because of this massive cap band, and there's not a whole lot more weight in the top, except for like this like brass cap piece up there at the top. But the belly band here, I think, is actually doing most of the weight. And so if you hold it about here, the weight sits in the web of your hand, and it's actually quite nice to write with. So I didn't do a whole lot of writing with it posted because it's a perfect length unposted for me. But again, fairly large hands, so there you go. This is it compared to my hand. Hand for scale. There. Like that. Anyway, so quite a nice pen. Anyway, so here is the Montegrappa Game of Thrones. There it is. Nope, not going to work. That. Boom. If you're looking to get one of these, the prices on the street actually tend to vary wildly. You can find it at some retailers already. My favorite place to go is usually Anderson Pens. However, they don't seem to have this one in stock. So I went over to my second favorite, Pen Chalet, and they actually have it at a bit of a discount. So do check that out. You can put it in their cart, and it'll show you the discount. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it out loud. They can't print it, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I'm not going to do anything. Anyway, I got this from Kenro, who's the distributor, and they don't sell it, which is why I'm trying to send you somewhere to get it. You can also, at Pen Chalet, get all kinds of discount codes from other places you might listen to, like the Pen Addict podcast. It's like the code there is Addict, and you get 10% off. So that's pretty solid. And with free shipping, that actually brings it down under $300 because the price for this guy otherwise, the Misrip, is, let's get out my facts and figures sheet here, is $350. So as far as value for money, I think you need to actually be a collector or a big fan of Game of Thrones to really get your money out of this pen. If you're if you're expecting it to be a good deal, licensing on any kind of thing will always jack up the price because licenses cost a lot. That's why your favorite college apparel is always expensive and that kind of stuff. And no difference with Game of Thrones here, I think. So $350, I think, is on the high end for this pen. But again, that's the Misrip, and so you're almost never going to pay the actual MSRP. So keep that in mind. It'll probably be around, I don't know, between $300 and $315, depending on where you go and what kind of deal they've got going at the time. But not a terrible price for a Montegrappa if you're into Italian pens and all that kind of jazz. I'd say, it's up to you, but I've shown you what's going on there. As far as specs and all that sort of thing, for me, the biggest spec that's most important here is the smallest spec, but the one that's maybe most important is this one right here, which is the diameter at the section. And that is, what I mean by that is this bit right here, like this part that you're putting your fingers on. And here it ranges between 9 and 10.5, depending on where you are. It's got a nice slope from the top to the bottom, but a nice little lip here as well, so you can put your fingers on that. But it's 10.5 up here and 9 here, so right around 10-ish in the middle where I hold it, and 10 is about my preferred number of millimeters of the grip. I think that's the best place for the section, or the best size for a section. So it's an ideal size for a dude with hands my size, or a person who likes pens that big. So there you go. Alrighty. So, this has been the Montegrappa Game of Thrones House Baratheon. The fury is ours. Go check this out at your favorite fountain pen purveyor. Go check me out online at other places like Instagram, where I am at Inkdependence, or my blog, www.inkdependence.com. And I will see you around. Also, if you happen to be going to the Chicago Pen Show this weekend, I'm going to be at the Chicago Pen Show as well, helping out over at the Franklin Christoph table. So come say hi, and I'll see you then. Peace out.